And hello everyone on the Trekyards, which is briefing your weekly dose of Star Trek goodness. We look at any of these, or anything in here, or your imaginations, or a fan canon, or a fan film, or... Stuart, we look at a lot of ships on this show. But this month, we're doing at least the part of this month, we're looking at fan-suggested ones, because they gave money towards Indiegogo that we did previously, and now we're doing all those picks. But Stuart, what are we looking at today?
Today we're looking at a ship that, assuming that the Borg, assimilated Vincent van Gogh in his form of cubism. Yeah, some odd shapes here on this ship. This is the Borg Renegade ship that we saw in Descent Part 1, I believe.
Yeah.
It was a two-parter, that one?
Yeah.
With Data and Lord. Yeah.
Yeah, this is an interesting one.
Ship. This is one I've kind of wanted to do for a while. It's kind of been on my to-do list over here. And I've mentioned it a few times, but we never got around to it, so...
Well, obviously, thank you very much to Jason Jarman, who donated to the Indiegogo and supported this show, so now we're doing it for you all. So there you go, Stuart. You jumped the queue, and you can get those occasional perks. But yes, this Borg ship. Now, my first question to you, Stuart. Is it actually a Borg ship, given that they were, non-collective Borg, and Data and Law was in control?
Wow, that's an interesting point. I initially would have said yes, but then you said with lore and control, and I'm still going to say that it classifies as a Borg ship. We've mentioned it a few times, even in our top 10 favorite Borg episode or Borg ship episode. Mm-hmm. So yes, let's say it's a Borg ship because it's manned and operated by Borg.
Now, do you remember the first time you saw this ship? Because obviously the only thing we'd seen up to this point was a cube. And then suddenly this. I mean, they're not at all the same in terms of design.
Yeah, I remember seeing it the first time and going, huh? I thought it was very interesting. And the asymmetric nature of it really confused me as a kid.
Yeah.
I forget how old I was at the time, but I'd never really considered asymmetric designs for starships. So to see this, it was like, okay. That kind of opened up my mind a little bit. But yeah, we had only seen Borg cubes up to that point. I don't even think we had seen these sphere.
Still only in TNG at this point, yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, I wasn't sure what other Borg ships looked like, but I assumed they were all just basically cubes, to be honest with you. That's kind of the impression we got, I think, up to that point.
Yeah, it's like you're only presented with one reality and suddenly, boom, this other ship. And you can certainly...
The Mandela effect. There
you go. I mean, you can certainly see parallels in this ship. Well, that's a different episode of Parallels, but, in this ship you can see parallels. Sorry, stupid joke, that. It's still geometric shapes combined. It is very blocky, but it's really odd. It's really, really odd. I mean, it almost looks as if, they had, built three smaller ships and just sort of combined them. Probably a bit of a stretch. Or maybe I read one article that said it's like an alien ship that was then assimilated, and then it was, like we saw in Enterprise, they took the science ship, assimilated it, started adding shapes to it. It kept a similar shape, but had new bits. This could be the same thing. Maybe parts of it are Borgified, but then that's the assimilation style, is those Borg shoot to kill. There's no assimilation. So I think all bets are off with that, with those sort of Borg. I mean, that's... Yeah.
It's interesting you mention that, because I always assumed it was almost like three small alien ships that were kind of combined into one.
Yeah.
I mean, if you hold it up and look at it, you can see the different... three different shape designs that are kind of attached together.
But then couldn't this be a Borg probe, and then this be a Borg building, and this be a Borg?
Well, the Borg
triangle.
have the Borg have the rectangular, smaller transport ships and things,
which are very much that end shaped.
Yeah. So maybe they were partly Borg to begin with.
Now we are going to talk about this later as we have some pictures. But this was then featured in Armada 2, and we'll talk about that iteration. So it was then sort of added back into the Borg Legacy. That's a different game. God, can't help the jokes. Borg Legacy is being a Borg ship, because I don't think it's so off kilter that I feel like it either must be a Borg design built for a reason, or it is just a completely alien design. And I kind of like the fact that I kind of like the idea that it's a different sort of design, because there's billions of species. Why on earth would you just make a cube, a sphere, a triangle, a little whatever? I mean, I think they would have lots of variations in themselves for different purposes, and this happens to be one they were on, they happens to be one they stole, or whoever, you know, and it's just a different style of ship.
Well, that being said, the hull... Well, let's go to the next picture first of all. The size is impressive again. It's very much like the Borg. But
absolutely.
I don't get the sense of it being a Borg ship from the look of this hull, the smooth texturing, because the Borg cubes are very much girders and pipes and, you know, glowing bits behind them. So...
Yeah, but is there not smooth hull, glowing bits behind hull with the blue bits, and then also parts sticking out of the hull? I mean, is there not all those elements just in a different way? Like, it's not a smooth hull. It's not, you know, it. Because I feel like they were the art team, and we'll hopefully talk to the design of the ship at some point. You know, I don't know who designed this one in fact, but my guess is they went for, it looks sort of Borgy but sort of not. So you don't think it's Borg at first. They would have known it was Borg because they were being attacked. No, yeah. So the first time we see it is in All at the Planet, but you don't know it's Borg. Then the reveal is, oh my god, it's Borg. So I essentially you can put two and two together and say, oh, of course it's a Borg ship, but you wouldn't think straight away it's a Borg ship. So it's kind of like that in between valley. You know, it's like, well, there are other ships that have been sort of surprise ships, but this scale. I mean, I was trying to find size information for this, and I didn't feel like I needed to because this picture. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, well, like I said, I mean, the only other two races that were kind of squashed the Federation as far as size went were the Romulan Derdax ships and the Borg Cube. And I feel like this is maybe a little bit bigger than a Romulan Derdax ship as far as height goes.
Yeah, I'd say so.
You know, it's not as big as a cube. So,
yeah.
I really like the scaling. Again, it shows impending threat to the Enterprise, and that's something we never really got a sense of generally in TNG.
Yeah. I also kind of like the idea that these, when you build even bigger, you've actually got to build in these sort of simpler shapes because the hull is now, you know, miles long. Like the Borg Cube, they're so big, but it's such a simple design. This is such a huge ship, but it's relatively simple design. Maybe it's just good design to have to do that. But this Casper, I don't remember being this big in when I watched the show originally. This is obviously the HD remaster, which is, you know, really shows it off way better. And obviously lenses can distort. But, I mean, this is clearly, I mean, you know, what, 100 decks? 200 decks tall? I would say probably the same width as a Borg Cube. That's what my gut's saying about. And just way thinner, just for how spread out it feels.
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm not sure if the original airings of the show really showed a sense of scale against the Enterprise D, because I don't remember that. I remember seeing the ship in space.
I mean, these
I don't
two
really
shots.
remember this kind of shot.
I think they probably were still on the show, but they went very quick. And there's another shot in a second. We'll see. It's really, really big. I mean, it brings in more questions of the purpose of the ship. If it isn't Borg, that's a hell of a... I mean, who designed this ship? What race? I mean, this is technology not necessarily far, far beyond, but in terms of what they want to build huge. I think that does it. I think just the scale of it implies Borg. I think just that one factor alone, it's like a Borg cruiser or a Borg carrier or Borg specialist ship. We'll talk about Armada again later on, but yeah, I mean... I always would have preferred it would be smaller, because like if it was a smaller, more scouty ship, and yet be so powerful in the Enterprise would be more impressive. But you know, when you they're versus Goliath, well, yeah, he's bigger. He's got bigger rocks. I mean, of course they're going to win, and this was certainly a serious opposition to Enterprise in the episode.
Yeah, I was just some of the shapes there along the edge kind of remind me of the Husek. I think it's the Husek, that race that one alien guy wiped the entire race out of existence. And their big battleship kept coming back to destroy their little house with just the two of them there.
Oh, yeah.
Him and his wife. It kind of has that look at the front. So maybe it's just an abandoned Husek ship that, since the whole race was wiped out, they picked up. I don't know. But it kind of has that look to it.
Totally possible. But, yeah. Well, let's go to the next picture, because, again, it shows a sense of scale, and, again, lenses and distorting, but the Enterprise D is associated as this huge ship. Yeah, it is minuscule. I mean, it's like shuttle size. Maybe, you know, captain's yacht size, just flying next to this behemoth. Oof.
Yeah. I don't remember the shot. I haven't seen this episode in quite some time. So.
Yeah, I don't remember the shots either. I just went back to do them. But it really. Oh, how many drones? I mean, how many? What, tens of thousands? Drones.
Yeah, and they're not Borg. They're not collective linked either, are they?
Mm-mm. Because it just form follows function at least most of the time. I'm just wondering what is the form of this, what is the function of this ship? Because I mean, if you're a Borg cube is the most sensible shape. You have the most internal volume, the most easily defendable area. You pack it full of drones. Boom, that's the ship. They have this sort of design. Well, let's go to the next picture because it shows the design clearly. And this is the Eaglemoss model, a 3D model that was built, I believe, pretty sure it's by Fabio, who builds a lot of their models. And this was done because there was never a 3D model made. But I think I talked to him about it at Destination, and it was a very tricky one because it's not much reference material, and how far do you go to flesh it out and stuff. But this is the 3D model, which obviously the print was made of. My question is then, form follows function. I mean, do you then think that these big zones have some huge function? One could be a planetary destruction beam. One could be a, it feels very to me like a section. Like one is the crew area or drone area. One is a weapon. One is a something. What do you think about that for design wise?
Well, looking at this picture, one of the things that strikes me is why can't this be a starbase or a scientific research platform that's meant to be studying something? It doesn't mean it doesn't have to be Borg, by the way. But
okay. Yeah, I was thinking science
that they commandeered and then added propulsion to it or something, because it almost doesn't have that starship vibe. It almost has a very like starbase, station, something kind of vibe to it.
That's really I'd never considered that. No, when you take it out of perspective, out of that context, I mean, you could see this as being a stationary base. Absolutely, without question. And then maybe Law, and I can't remember the exact backstory of why and how the drones became disconnected. I think he found them wandering somewhere. But you can imagine they said, right, on the star base, and then all you have to do is add an impulse, and we'll talk about that method of transport in a minute. I mean, add impulse and then add some other forms of. That's really interesting. I mean, wow.
I mean, it never occurred to me either until just turning onto this picture, and I'm thinking, this could be a starbase from even a Federation starbase. If you retextured the hull and repainted it, you wouldn't, I mean.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't think too far off, would you?
No, because I would never assume, seeing this at first glance, that it would be a ship. I would think it would be like a communications outpost or something, something that serves another purpose. I wouldn't think ship right away. But that's just me.
Blew my mind. One thing I will throw out there, and again, this is Fabio's pick, but there is that little Borg emblem on the hull.
Yeah, I saw that.
Which cool. Is, I don't think post they left the collective, they say, right, Jerry, your name is now Jerry, go into the hull and paint on the symbol. That certainly implies it's a Borg vessel. But since when do the Borg put symbols on their vessels? Pretty sure a cube hasn't got a Borg logo anywhere, or a diamond, or a sphere, or a trapezoid. Well,
yeah, but these Borg are very unique. So I mean,
if you're saying they actively decided to paint the outside the hull,
why not?
We are sort of Borg. Resistance is sort of futile. Pew pew. I mean. You know what I mean? That's a really interesting choice, and that might have just been Fabio for the fun of it, but I mean, it has to be CBS approved, obviously, but.
Yeah, it is interesting. Just the whole notion of the Borg having a symbol, it doesn't really make sense to me with the way, early on maybe, but I think it would have got lost over time. Because why do they need it? They don't need to. They're not a faction per se. They're just a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, absolutely. They're like a force of nature. Yeah. That's unnatural. I mean, when you add the Borg Queen into the equation, which obviously they did and reiterated in Voyager, you've got to ask the question: is the Borg Queen controlling, or is the Borg Queen a construct of the collective, which in itself is an amorphous data? It's just data flowing, isn't it? So is the Queen controlling, or is the Queen, the leader? If the Queen's the leader, then maybe that implies that in the past the Borg, had an identity and they wanted to, it's a very strange question because it had to come from somewhere. But with anything, it can get lost along the way just because of how many things you assimilate. What if you assimilate a race that has a genocidal need to have a red flag, and then suddenly the cube that assimilates it, where it's now got 15,000 of that people on it, maybe it's override. There is some precedent for the Borg changing slightly, in how they do things.
Yeah, it's almost like they act on instinct. And
Well, this is a really good resolution photo. So I'll ask while we're on this picture, what do you think about all the blue elements that are like visible? There's an orange element, and there's like hull that's not being covered. I mean, do you think that's functional? Do you think it's lack of hull armor? I mean, what's your take on that? And would you prefer it if it was all totally covered, more like a Borg ship?
No, I like the way it is here, broken up. I think that's a much more appealing look. As for the blue glowing elements, why they're not covered or shielded, I have no idea. It's just a cool design choice. I really don't know. Because you think they'd serve some kind of purpose, perhaps a cooling system, for those sensitive areas,
or is it the fact that there's missing plates? But it looks like ordered, doesn't it? Maybe
it wasn't completed. Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's what I was about to get into. Maybe because it's a Renegade ship, they disrepair, they have to jettison pieces as they get damaged. They don't know how to really keep the ship 100%. So through time or whatever, just things get lost, damaged. So that you just get these holes. So it's all the internal circuitry just exposed. I mean, it certainly gives it more of a rushed and unfinished vibe, which is good for a Renegade, affectionately known as a Renegade Borg ship. But
yeah.
And do you think those yellow things are windows? Those yellow panels?
Yes, I would assume they're windows.
Which sort of implies it's not a Borg ship originally.
Right. And the way that they're, a couple decks high, almost looks like a big recreation area of some sort or whatever. That's why I thought Starbase too. It kind of gives that.
No, it absolutely does, yeah.
So, I don't know.
It is a cool design though.
Oh, absolutely it is. Very much so.
And it's one of those weird ones because it is so different, but just something about it makes it work. It's not just four simple shapes put together. It's actually something about it is more than some of its parts, I think. Which Trek seems to stumble upon quite a lot, I think.
So on that note, let's move on to the next picture. And again, we see a lot more of those windows that you talked about. Which, if they are windows, I can't see it being a Borg ship. Why would they do that? It looks almost like a shopping center with the way they got the windows, like multiple decks and stuff.
See, I'm now less convinced just because of how they're structured. One side is blue, one side is... I don't know if if in the show they were that exact colour range. I think in the show they're a bit more... Well, no, I'm looking back to the first picture, and there is orange and blue. I mean, there is that. So it almost feels like it's different sorts of power emitters. One is a transphasic spectral grid, and one is a quantum waveform polarization grid. I mean, I don't know. It's because where they're laid out and how the hull looks, it'd be very bizarre to make them windows.
Yeah. Yeah. Now this is the back of the ship. I think it is.
This is the back of the ship. Yeah.
Okay. So we can assume that long blue strip is like the impulse engine or
propulsion. That's why I made sure to put it in, which I never noticed or really. No. But it is in the show. I went back and I had a look, and it is. But it's just a better shot. What do you think about that? I kind of like how it is there and just simple vibe.
I do too, but it looks very tacked on, like as if it doesn't belong there.
Huh.
It seems like an odd placement for it, especially on an angle like that.
Well, there are no angles in space. I mean, it's.
Oh. I mean, designing this, you'd probably... I would assume you'd put the propulsion on the main bulk of the ship in the middle there. But... Is it in the middle?
Yeah.
The model.
It's not really. It's still a bit off. It's closer to the middle. No, but it's very close.
Huh. Yeah, well, it just seems like it was never initially there, and they've added it, so...
Possibly, absolutely possibly. Although I do love the detail that I think Fabio did for this model. It's actually a pretty nice fleshing out of the...
Yeah.
But, Stuart, let's go
Yes.
back to the original.
No.
Next, we have two pictures. This is the first one. This is a production model, purple apparently. And look, there is actually the Borg insignia on it. So back in TNG, that is what they wanted. They wanted a Borg symbol. That might have been their first. I think it's in the episode, in like the facility. I remember the Borg symbol being there. So maybe they thought, let's introduce the symbol for the Renegade Borg, and they kept it going.
Yeah, because they had the Borg banners and stuff with the flags with the thing on it. Yeah.
So this is what it looked like originally.
Huh.
A little bit less impressive that any of the things lit up, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you think?
No, it's upside down, I assume.
Yeah, because it
Because of
goes
filming?
this
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. Okay. Honestly, with that color and even the orientation with it being upside down, it looks like it could be a Decepticon base from Transformers.
Crossover. Quite possibly.
It's cool. It's just not as menacing and cool looking as when it's lit up and stuff.
But the next picture is it still at Christie's. And I actually think properly photographed actually looks better. In terms of like, well, it's not purple there, but I when you see it like this, without any glow, it does feel like it's unfinished. All those components are just missing, and I do think if they were all actually there, and you added some green highlights behind like actual functional looking sections, not half finished, I think this would film a Borg like proper Borg.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Now, the Borg symbol is there, but it looks like it's in a totally different location on this one.
Yes. Well, yeah. And it was worth saying that in the collection it's called Borg Type 2 ship. Because I've never really given a name for it, but that's a name.
Oh, this is the second type of Borg ship we saw, so that makes sense.
Well, yeah, absolutely. But the next picture, Stuart, is interesting because in the episode they go through a special sort of, faster-than-light capacity, and it sort of disappears in quite a cool effect actually. And this is the precursor to transwarp, I believe. They go through a subspace thing, and it's very, very fast, and it's quite a cool effect. Which the next picture is then the inside of this vortexy thing. What do you think about that?
It looks like clouds.
It does look like clouds.
It's almost got a hyperspace vibe to it from Star Wars with the tunnel thing.
Yeah, it looks like the exact same effect they used when Picard. You remember Picard? There's two of him, and they really got. Yeah. I think they just reused that effect.
Yeah.
Or at least altered it, but I think this is the precursor to Transwarp, Stuart. Then we've got Transwarp and Voyager, green and pulsy.
Nice. I prefer the blue.
Okay. Well, Slipstream is blue, and then they have Quantum Slip. Transwarp is yeah.
Right, so the next picture is just a shot of it, like static from the front.
Yes.
And again, it's quite. I mean, that could be pretty imposing if you saw that coming towards you.
It's surprisingly opposing, yeah.
Yeah, I can't see any weapons placements per se.
It's too big, though, isn't it?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And when we saw in the episode, it had both torpedoes and phasers or disruptors, green bolts. But I just love how asymmetrical it is, and every shape is. Because it would be almost a cop out if they'd had the same shape from the left on the right, but just. Yeah, every component is distinctly different, and the fact that one arm is so much thicker, it's very strange. Does it speak to design at all? I mean, how could you?
If you hold your hand up and cover half of the ship.
Which half?
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
If you cover like the left half of the ship for now and look at the right half, it looks very much like a Jem'Hadar cruiser. If you cover the right half, it looks like the Raven from Voyager. Design-wise, like you could cut it in half.
Everyone at home do the same thing. No, I absolutely.
We look like a cult now. Everybody's like, oh.
But yeah.
And that's the interesting thing to do with actual symmetrical designs. You cut them in half and then change the other half, and it really totally changes the vibe of the ship or whatever you're looking at.
But Stuart, I believe the Raven was already taken at this point, and I believe that it's likely that they'd dealt with Jem'Hadar at some point, given Transwarp can do to multiple quadrants. So maybe this is an amalgam of those two different designs for some reason, and then upscaled a bit.
Yeah, that's a really bad theory. Because the Raven would have to be upscaled huge, and
Well,
Jem'Hadar would have to be
the Jaeger,
downscaled.
the Jaeger.
Oh, don't even start with the Jaeger.
But yeah, and if you, that is a lot of decks. That mill bit, such a huge amount of space. I mean, I can't even fathom how much physical space there is. I mean, this is such a big ship. I mean, you can probably fit the Enterprise D in, any part of the ship. You could just shove the Enterprise. I mean, the Enterprise D is quite thin. I would love to get the definitive scale on this and put it into a Borg cube. I think that would be fascinating.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes. And actually, I would love someone to do a retrofit all these lights to make them green. Because that might change the vibe completely. Maybe the classic Borg is green, and as soon as they become Renegade, they change the bulbs.
Well, didn't you mention that it's in a video game? And I think it's green in the game, isn't it?
It is, yes. Well, let's just jump through some pictures then. The next picture is the top view, and after that, it's going to be. Well,
hold on, that top view. I mean, that looks like a shot from Google Earth. That looks like a shopping center. It looks like a mall, does it not?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Just put a parking lot around it, and you'd never know the difference.
Some trees, maybe a little moat, little lake. It does change perspective when you look at it from the top, doesn't it? A bit.
Yeah, it's got a lot of volume, a lot of interior space for sure.
And just
a
how
lot of size. Wow.
Just how I love how the arms are connected. I don't notice how much is actually visible on the top right hand arm. There's a lot of circuitry. There's a lot of stuff being visible. I mean, you've got to consider scale. I mean, that arm is bigger than the Enterprise D. There's like potentially miles of.
It doesn't look as good when you do it this way.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, it's cool. Yeah, we even had a Borg symbol on the top there, if you noticed on the right hand side.
Oh, yeah. Well, they wanted to be consistent, didn't they?
Sure.
Stuart, take us into the game then.
Ooh, the next picture is from the game, and yes, it is green. There you go. That looks way more Borgified. Looks like they've changed some of the shapes a little bit, and they've increased the surface area of the glowing elements.
Well, tell us about the history of this then, and do you remember playing these and all that jazz?
This was Armada 2, was it not?
Yep.
One of my favorite games. I never played the Borg personally. I was.
Oh, didn't
the Borg.
you? Oh.
I always played Federation pretty much. But one of my favorite games. I still have it installed on my computer. I've actually got the updated version. So, but yeah, I can't recall what the special ability of this ship was, but I bet you that you know.
And the next picture, I just took the data. This is the Assimilator. And I will say everyone can read this, I don't need to read it out, but special weapon is auto-assimilation.
Yeah.
This is one that I remember building and sending and assimilating ships. And I thought it was an interesting concept to have such a radically different ship be a dedicated, transporter. Has a lot of crew, being spilled, but I mean, it was a lot smaller than the game. It was actually a very small ship in comparison. But being so radically different, I kind of like the idea of it being this shape. That worked well to me. So yeah, that was my thought.
Yeah, and it makes sense. I mean, if you keep it the same shape it was or the same size it was in the show, it makes sense to be a ship assimilator almost, because you could beam a ton of Borg over and not, because you can store a lot of Borg in this ship. There's a lot of internal volume, and then the different pods can have different like nanobot construction on one pod or whatever, and I don't know.
Yeah,
I think it's a specialist ship.
If the big pod just has a super high beam, super high focused transporter emitters, in just slices through shields and just beams. Yeah, it's a wonderful concept. I mean, again, but you got to ask, well, why not just give the Borg cube that ability? I mean, it's big, it can do everything. Why have multiple variants? I mean, obviously they needed them for the game. But I always quite like these in the game. They're a powerful torpedo. They lasted okay, and yeah, I remember simulating a few sovereigns and stuff with this. It's pretty satisfying. Pretty satisfying.
Yeah, I had some of my ships that simulated it. I was not happy about that. But anyway, moving along to the next picture, which is the last picture.
Which is their first picture, yes. Closing thoughts, Stuart.
Awesome ship. Again, very unique, not only just in the world of Star Trek, but specifically for the Borg, a very unique design. Because they don't seem to think asymmetrically. But these were rogue renegade Borg that weren't attached to the collective, so that's always what I assumed the reason for it was. But I would like to see it cut in half and made into other ships, because I think it would be kind of cool. There you go. Just mirror that image and you got another cool ship.
Yeah. Yeah. No, sure, yeah. I basically mirror that. Mirror. No, it's a cool ship. It's funny. I didn't like Descent that much. It was kind of an odd episode to me.
Yeah, same here.
I don't think it was done justice having him. Anyway, that's a longer story. And the ship, because of the budget and stuff, didn't. Even though it had a cool appearance, it wasn't like a standout. It was like a in a episode, which is kind of annoying because I think if you, I would love to have seen this in Voyager. That'd have been such a great reference callback to have a CG version appear in Voyager, do some stuff, give it an explanation. It was there, guys. You should have, Rob Bonshun, come on, and Mojo. You guys were doing CG. Just tell them. I don't know. Missed opportunity, but this has been good to solidify as a fully Borg ship and to go into more and it's cool. I want to talk to the designer and hear what was the script. What was the script called for? I mean, I'm assuming it just said rogue Borg ship. And how do you design that? I mean, where do you even start from? You start from a cube. Guess what? A cube is not a design. It's a sphere. It's a shape. It's you know what I mean? So
make it look like a shopping mall. There you go. Shopping mall in space.
Shopping mall in space. So that is it for this week's Trekyards Mission Briefing with your shopping mall in space. And thanks so much for donating to this episode. We really appreciate it and hope we've done this justice for you. You've enjoyed our look at this ship. And if you want to support the show further, what can they do, Stuart?
Well, there's two options. In the description below, it explains both of them. You can either click the link and go directly to our Patreon page and subscribe on a monthly basis to donate. Or you can head on over to our Trekyards.com page, and there's a big donate button if you want to do a one-time donation, or even a couple times a year if you just want to donate a little bit, you can do it that way. And that'd be much appreciated, $5, $10, whatever.
But if you can't support financially, obviously, just share the news of the show, share the links to the videos, like the video, subscribe to the channel, make sure you click that bell notification because you actually get the videos coming on subscription feed, and just watch every single thing we do because we love you guys and we love that you watch the show, and we'll keep making content if you keep watching it. So until next time, guys, I am Commander Coggins.
I'm Captain Foley, and we'll see you soon.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody.